can take all the best skills in the world and put them on the wrong person, and it won't do any good. And so as Dad developed and he started to learn and see the response that people had, he realized that the first thing you had to do was develop the person from the inside out. They needed to have character and integrity and discipline. They needed to be motivated. They needed to have a specific goal-setting plan in place so that they could become the right kind of person. Then they had to have relationship skills so that they could work with others. Once you have that person, then you can put the technical skills on them, and they can do and achieve just about anything. And that's what this series is about. It's about understanding that skills are critically important, but unless the right person is employing those skills, it doesn't really matter. You know, Dad had an amazing impact. His character was unquestioned. The impact that he had in other people's lives to help them become more, be more, do more, and have more is legendary. But, you know, it wasn't until he passed away that we really understood the magnitude of the legacy that he left. We had over 13,000 comments on our Facebook page within 24 hours of the announcement. And through the months after that, one of the things that kept coming back to us was this, is people would send in a message or an email or a letter or a card, and the story was almost the same. It was, you know, I heard Zig Ziglar, I heard your dad in 1978, 1994, 1986, and I was in a room and there were 10,000, 20,000 people. And then when it was over, I was inspired and I wanted to meet him, so I stood in line for 2 hours. And when I finally got to him to get that autograph, it was like I was the only person in the room. And for me, that's such a powerful story because it's going to be hard for anybody to ever think, golly, I could be Zig Ziglar on stage. But you know what? I believe that each person listening to this can be Zig Ziglar one-on-one. And that means that you can give somebody undivided attention, letting them know that you care about them. One of my good friends came to me, his name was Scott Schilling, and he said, Tom, I was backstage with your dad years ago, and I asked him, I said, Zig, how come when you speak to a large audience like this that probably 80-90% of your talk is exactly the same talk that you gave the last time? And Scott said, you know, Tom, your dad just smiled at me, and he looked at me, and he said, Scott, the truth never changes. And Dad went on to tell me many times that people are always hungry for the truth. And I think that this program, this legacy program, is more relevant today than ever because for some reason our culture has bought into the idea that things are relative. Boy, Dad couldn't disagree more, neither can I. Things are more dependent upon the truth than ever. You know, we want truth. We want to know that we can count on somebody. We want to deal with people who have honesty and integrity. We want to know that what we stand for and who we lock arms with have values that line up with truth. So as you go through this series and you learn these different truths, understand that the more you employ them, the more effective you will be. One of our good friends is Seth Godin, and Seth talks about the idea of trust. And in his business, what he does is he focuses on scaling trust. Think about that, scaling trust, because Dad said this years ago, the number one reason that people won't buy is lack of trust. If we can build trust, then we've overcome the number one objection that people have for us or to us or about our product or service. And I always say this, trust is the byproduct of integrity. So many people ask, you know, what is Ziglar up to these days? Is Ziglar going to continue on? And I am excited to say that Ziglar is about legacy. Legacy really means this. It's the sum total of the impacts that you've had and the generational impacts that they have, and so on and so on and so on. And I can tell you that Dad's legacy is living and growing even as we speak. As people are equipped with these materials, these ideas, they use them in their own life, and then they teach others. You see, Dad's legacy lives on when we share these messages with others. That's why I'm so excited about this legacy project, because it's not just a product with an end result that ends someday. It's actually carrying on a legacy. So let's talk about legacy. Legacy is different than inheritance. Inheritance is when you give somebody money or something like that, which they can spend. Legacy is when you give somebody a guideline, a set of rules, a set of beliefs and principles that they can apply to any situation they go in and bear fruit from that.